All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 11th session of Office Hours. Can't believe that we made it to 11, almost a year. But if this is your first time here, Office Hours is a monthly community led live stream where we demo ships, we do workshops, we talk about all sorts of things that are new within ngrok and the products and its people. If you have not joined one of these before, I'm Joel. I do all sorts of DevRel things around ngrok, including writing blog posts and docs and posting things like this. I'm joined today by Aishika, our community manager. Aishika, you want to say hi and just like a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Joel, for my fourth consecutive session, I guess. And I'm Aishika. I lead all things community here and come up with different initiatives to get you folks involved and get you folks up and running with ngrok. So you'll probably see me hosting a lot of events. You'll see me on Discord, engaging with people, and yeah, I just run a lot of programs to help future developers be better. So I
Awesome. Thanks again for joining. And just going to make sure that the stream is up and running. It is wonderful. We also are joined here by Josh, who is a new face around here. And who knows if we'll see Josh again after this, but very grateful to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Josh. I am a principal product designer at ngrok. I just started maybe 2 months ago. So I was really hoping to jump on this live stream and just start talking to some of you actual users out there, specifically with onboarding and just trying to understand how we can make that like time to first value better, quicker, easier, etc. My background is I come from previous observability companies, lots of experience with like dev tools and highly technical software. I was previously at Datadog and New Relic before that, and now I'm really stoked to be working with ngrok.
Amazing. Thanks for joining. And we'll jump into the discussion about onboarding in a second, but just a couple of extra pieces to get out of the way. The kind of agenda for today, these are always fairly loose, but we wanted to talk, we have Josh here. Josh is very invested in onboarding and the user experience around your time to first tunnel, if you will. Like, what is that experience of getting set up, getting your service up and running, using something like traffic policy, et cetera. We'll roll into some community updates as well after that. And then if there's time, even after that, we have a couple of really cool new traffic policy features in developer preview, which means that you can request access to these and we will give them to you for free for 90 days. So you can try them out, see how they feel, see whether it's useful to you. And if there's time, I'll demo both of those, being HTTP request and our secrets for traffic policy, both of which are very cool and make your using ngrok as your gateway a lot more powerful and production grade. So with all that said, let's talk onboarding and let's talk what the experience is. Josh, you mentioned a little bit about you're very invested in that around ngrok, and we're kind of just looking for people to share their experiences with us and we can have conversations about where the paper cuts have been, where we think we could optimize for the experience. So if you're in the chat, especially if you got started with ngrok in, I don't know, the last couple weeks or last couple months, and this experience is still very present to you, would love to have you share some of those experiences, and maybe we can even bring somebody onto the stage with us to talk about that as well. Josh, anything else that to help frame the discussion that we can fold in here? And you are muted, just FYI.
Sorry. Yeah, no, that was a really great intro. I think you hit most of the points, but yeah, we're really just because we're such a our use cases are so varied. We have so many different ways that users can get everything started. You know, it can be installing the agent, it can be a cloud endpoint, it can be through an API, it can be through, you know, the bazillion different languages and stacks. So I imagine, or I don't imagine, I know that there's lots of different points where somebody can get hung up on. But at the same time, you know, my first experience with ngrok was a very simple setting up an endpoint for an AI app that I built, and it was super easy. Um, I don't obviously don't want to assume that my experience is every experience. So like, you know, if anybody's had any particular blockers or anything recently, or you know, they've been struggling with getting things up and running, I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome. We've got maybe a couple people in the chat that we can, Lorenzo, perhaps we can bring you in and see what your experiences are. And yeah, we've got a question here about from Edward about using ngrok to, you know, has used ngrok to expose local endpoints for testing, but what else can it be used for? And what does the SDKs provide? Yeah, I mean, as Josh was saying, like there's so many different ways that you can use ngrok, which is like part of its beauty and for us part of the problem, in that like which of these use cases or ways that you can leverage ngrok do we share with you upfront, like early in the onboarding process, without necessarily like overwhelming you with the amount of information. So we break things down into a couple different use cases. So like exposing local endpoints is what ngrok has been known for many years, and for things like webhook testing, or you know, integrating your local development environment with external APIs that you want to bring that data in, which is super relevant if you're working with like AI APIs and you want to be able to like fold in that logic with what you're developing locally. A lot of folks are using us as a gateway now. So being like that front door to your apps and your APIs in production, and using traffic policy to be able to like route and authenticate and secure the traffic in a way that is like easy to manage, but also centrally located. So you like it's standardized across all of your things. And then we have folks using ngrok to connect to all sorts of different places and things. Like they're connecting to their customers' networks, their customers' databases, so that they can run ML models against their data and provide insights on that. They are connecting to Linux devices that are running in all sorts of remote environments, like places that you would never expect that like ngrok might be running somewhere. They're all over the place, and yeah, a bunch of other different ways as well. The use cases are, like I said, the pros and cons are they're pretty endless. Let's see, using it for exposing application and endpoints can be used as a proxy to switch my local endpoints that are on different versions. Yeah, I mean, that is another, like, my assumption is with that is that maybe you have like two versions of the same application, like a V1 and V2, and you want to be able to like manage how traffic is sent to both of those. And so, yeah, there's a couple different ways you could do that. We've all of a sudden like, you know, like escalating into, you know, much more advanced use cases. But you can use endpoint pools for that, so that both of those endpoints could be running on the same URL and traffic is distributed automatically to those. You could also do like a custom load balancing, that maybe a little bit later, if I get a few minutes free, I can whip up a little code sample of how that would work, where you're basically using like random number generators to send traffic to different endpoints at different ratios. We love that. Folks, what about so we're getting a lot of questions about and comments about like using ngrok with something or using ngrok for a particular purpose. Josh, I think you're also interested in like what was it like installing the agent, or what was it like adding your auth token? What information do you wish was presented at certain times? People have thoughts about that. I mean, if you also feel like it was intuitive, that's great, but we feel like there's places to optimize, and we're eager for those.
Yeah. And also, like, did we properly speak to your use case? So like you were able to come to the site and be like, yeah, you'll do what I need you to do, without having to like either take a chance on it, or have to spend like 2 hours looking through docs.
Yeah. I feel like that is what I am taking away so far, is that folks have all these questions about like, can ngrok do X? And from what I've seen and what from Aishika's putting up, like presenting in these bubbles here, is like the answer has been yes to all of them. But the fact that you all are coming here and asking here, as opposed to being it like readily available in, as Josh just said, docs somewhere or on our website, is to me a pretty powerful signal that we are not doing that part of onboarding particularly well, like exposing you to the possibilities. Yeah, so using ngrok to connect self-hosted n8n workflows for external APIs, connecting to webhooks was easy to set up. We were like, there was a version of Office Hours today where we were going to talk more about n8n. So appreciate like hearing that so many folks are doing that, and I apologize if that was what you were hoping to come here for, and we're talking about onboarding instead. But yeah, n8n is a super popular use case for being able to share that with other people. Folks who are using n8n, like, are you just like using the ngrok CLI and saying like ngrok HTTP, I think it's 5678 is the port that is being exposed. Like, is that the level to which you are setting things up? Or have you moved into other pieces of like traffic policy? Like, does that word even mean anything to you folks here? Or are you like still trying to figure out what all the pieces of ngrok are? Very nice. Glad to hear that. I think yeah, the Docker desktop thing is a nice touch to hear that it's been working well. Josh, I don't know if you've interacted much with the Docker side of onboarding, but it certainly adds like multiple layers of complexity to using ngrok and connecting it to your local apps.
I have messed around with it a little bit, not necessarily from the brand new user, like I'm working within Docker and I need to start using ngrok, but I have messed around with it like from within Docker desktop as an extension.
Yeah. So yeah, there's another where Aishik and I are battling over which comments to show. I was going to show Caitlin's comment about like using traffic inspector to monitor the traffic. Like, this is something that, again, I'm curious about whether folks even know that it exists. Like, did we present that information to you at the right time, or is this the first time you're hearing about this? So like, if you go to your dashboard and look, I don't know, maybe halfway down the left hand menu, you can see traffic observability and traffic inspector, and that lets you see every request that is coming in to your public endpoints. You can click on each of those requests. You can look at like, what is the body of the request, the headers that are coming in. You can also look at the response that's going out, and see like, how is your application, whether that's a web app or an API, responding to those requests. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff in there. It's very cool, but again, like, feels like maybe people are not 100% aware that it exists, which is for our sake a bit problematic, because it's a pretty cool feature and it comes built in with every account. Like, it's not something you have to sign up for, or like do any extra work for, like any extra setup work. Tunneling to multiple endpoints at once from mobile. You can you can set up the ngrok agent to route or like to expose multiple services on a single machine. Um, you would do that. Like, let me see if I can find the doc that explains how to do that. Um, so the answer is yes. The mobile piece, I'm not 100% sure on. Like, I've never tried that, but perhaps if you have like installed Linux on a phone or something and you can do it that way, then that's certainly possible. But yeah, if you use the agent's command or the agent's configuration file, you can specify multiple services that you want to route to. Give me just a second to try to find that. Multiple endpoints. Here we go. Drop that link in the chat. That will show you how to set up, like, say you have, you have a couple different services on different ports. You can just start one tunnel and route to multiple places. I want to come back to Caitlin, not to put you on the spot here, but I want to come back to this point again about like people learning about the surface of ngrok and its features and what you decide and do not like. What do you know about and what are you turning on and starting to use? So I'm curious from like this particular perspective and others of like, one, do you know about traffic policy? Are you aware of what it is and like what it can be used for? And then the second question is like, if you are aware, is it helpful to you, or is it like not something that you need right now, or not something that you like will ever need? I think that's a really, like, we think of traffic policy internally as being this like holy grail of traffic management, and it's like the greatest thing ever. But there's a lot of customers that have picked it up and built amazing things with it, but like it's so hard to say unless we're able to talk to people one on one, like what that what the value is there for them. So I would love to hear folks interactions with traffic policy and whether like that is something they are like they just don't understand or they just don't need. Josh, have you thought about like the role of traffic policy in onboarding? Like how do you like introduce someone to that like the concepts behind it, or like do you just give them examples to run with and say like go have fun? Like, is that piece something that you all are discussing on the like design front at this point?
It is, yes. Yeah, so as you know, the challenge with that is that like a traffic policy as we have it now is basically a YAML file with some pretty open-ended keys and values. Ideally, I think the ideal scenario would be like we can provide you with some basic templates or presets, or like when you connect an endpoint, you get a traffic policy. There are obviously technical and UX challenges around that, but I think you and I have discussed briefly about like having some type of like recipes or like like pre-built policies. So I think that's a potential way that we could go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the short answer is I do think it's critical for us to introduce some form of basic traffic policy very early on in the onboarding. But how we do that is tricky, and we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, like which version of the thing is easy to set up, like illustrative of the potential of using traffic policy, but is not like, I think we could do a lot of things that are very illustrative, but then kind of send people off on a path that is not on their direct path to like completing the job that they want to complete. Like go set up basic auth or something to see how it works. And someone's like, okay, that's cool, but I don't really want, like, maybe I want a public endpoint. Like, I don't want it to be behind a username and password. So then I have to, like, I've set it up and I've learned something, but then I have to take it apart and start over. And like, that's not necessarily a great experience either. So Caitlin has, thank you, Caitlin, for continuing to chime in here about like having a high level understanding of it, but maybe for your use case, it's not like the most useful thing. That's something that I found with N8N as well, playing around with it, working on these workshops, like the one that I did last month, the one that I was working on for this month that I wanted to like dive in deeper. I found that like once you have N8N up and running, you have it exposed through ngrok. I recommended in last month's workshop that we live streamed, like to put IP restrictions behind the N8N dashboard so that only you can access it. There's things like that. But once you're in N8N and kind of like building workflows and doing all this kind of stuff that's like within the product, then ngrok does kind of fall away a bit. And it's less like constantly iterating against ngrok and traffic policy and more like you've got it set up. You're just working in N8N now. So one thing that Aishika did put in the chat a little bit ago, and just to reiterate, like we are going to share a form that you all can fill out. Like I know some people maybe don't want to like put their thoughts up here in the live stream and for everyone to see. So we're gonna have this form available that you can elaborate more on your experiences using ngrok, especially that like those first couple minutes or hours trying to get set up. And that's going to put you like, we're going to, handpick a couple really good responses from there to put in, to send you some swag, some shirts, or shirts, stickers, like all that kind of good stuff that people love. So we'll get that rolling in a little bit once we've like, kind of continued down this discussion a little bit more. Yeah, I think this is also a like to the onboarding point that we found, like this comment from Caitlin about like using ngrok to get started, but then having other things to prioritize, like other configuration and setup things that need to be done first, and then like coming back around to like optimizing or continuing to configure ngrok. I think that's a very common a very common path that folks take. So I'd be curious to know from folks, like, are the ways that we can reach back out to you to like better deliver information at just the right time, like based on what you're building or what you want to build. That would certainly be really cool to implement. Okay, we've got Shiva in here with some potential use cases. Discovery sessions with stakeholders seeking feedback from. I'd love to know a little bit more about like storing sensitive info. That's an interesting thing. Like we've got some things that like help with that potentially, but like would love to know a little bit more about what the like sensitive info being inside, outside of ngrok, like if that is a blocker for you. I think that could certainly be something that we look into. Yeah, Shiva, I remember your comment from the office hours registration form about like building an app that that like handles all the QR code stuff. I would love to do that. I think that's something that I would like office hours to eventually like turn toward, or like us to be able to do, is build apps like that together and expose them with ngrok, and then everyone can like have their own version of the app that we've all built together. But like they're all like kind of secure and all of that stuff is handled within ngrok to make it like really packaged well and without having to rely on a bunch of external like cloud tools to be able to make that work. Josh, any other questions that you wanted to like pitch to the audience here? We also, I think Aishika at some point dropped a link that if somebody wants to come in and actually chat with us, I think you would be able to go to that URL and then we can bring you on stage with us and like actually have a conversation about your experiences. Yeah, there's the link again if anybody's feeling particularly brave and wants to, like what better way to make an impact than doing it right here.
I would love to get a quick show of hands of everybody in here. How many of you are, if you're primarily a command line user, or if you use our dashboard web app? So C if you're command line only, D if you use the dashboard web app.
Let's see what happens. We got some CLI love off the bat. To me, the power comes in kind of knowing when to use each of them. Like they can both do a lot of the same functions, but Lorenzo hates the CLI. That's interesting. Lorenzo, talk more about that. Like, what if you hate the CLI? What is the experience like of using? Like, I'm assuming that you use the ngrok CLI, the agent CLI to like get started at least. So, like, that must have been a interesting experience to say the least.
I'm with you on that. I have like the command line curse. Like I've run into problems that other people don't have, and I'm always getting issues. And people, like when I go for help, people are like, "How did this even happen? This makes no sense." So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like I agree with both of the two comments that just popped up. Like the first being like, I'm building something. I just need a link for it to be able to share with folks, and it works. Like,
Yeah,
hooray! Like, you don't need to like be a CLI expert to get to like make that happen. Like ngrok HTTP port, you're good. Like, you're off and running. Like I was starting to say, like I think the dashboard comes like becomes really powerful when you like if you have many agents running or like many endpoints up and running at once, and you need that sort of at a glance understanding of like where all these things are and are they running or are they not running and what traffic policy potentially is attached to them. Like that's where looking at that stuff in the dashboard is going to help you a lot. And then obviously traffic inspector being our dashboard only like observability piece that is like a power user function that is very accessible to anybody who is using ngrok. Caitlin and I are on the same wavelength here. Like once you want a little bit more, head into the dashboard. I would also be curious. It seems like a long shot, but I think the third piece of the like how to use ngrok puzzle, aside from the CLI or the dashboard, is automation tools. Like, are you using the ngrok API? Are you using the Kubernetes operator? Are you using Terraform? Are you using GitOps workflows to provision these endpoints and resources? Like that's a whole other, like we could probably have another entire section on some of those advanced use cases, but that's the third pillar that often goes unspoken. So we got maybe somebody using ngrok for pipelines, like CI pipelines. That's very cool. I'm actually working on if I'm understanding that right, I'm working on a blog post right now and like a GitHub repository that lets you uh, it uses GitHub Actions to, like, anytime you change the repository, it spins up a Kubernetes cluster with inside GitHub Actions, deploys your app into the cluster, and then creates ingress into that cluster and into your service with ngrok. So it's like you get those deploy preview URLs every time there's a change to your repository, and it's all handled within ngrok, which is like, yes, very like advanced use case, but one that I think is pretty cool. An overview of agents. Yeah. I mean, there's basically just one agent that I would say, like, the agent CLI is kind of, when we say agent, like, that is what we're talking about. I suppose like the SDKs are also part of that. So like the agent is a standalone command line program that you install onto your system. You can invoke on your command line, and you can like unlock all of ngrok's functionality via that command line interface. Like you can expose a local service to the public internet. You can add traffic policy. You can terminate TLS in different places. Like there's all sorts of different things that you can do there. The SDKs allow you to take that same logic, like those same capabilities, and embed them within your Go, Rust, JavaScript projects that you already have, which is great. Like if you don't want to have your application running and then also have ngrok running, like you can bring them together and the life cycle is the same. That's very cool. And then there's the ngrok Kubernetes operator, lets you expose Kubernetes services. There's many different surfaces. Actually, this makes me think, Josh, about what folks think about when it comes to AI, like using AI to help you use ngrok. I tend to be fairly skeptical, but we have a lot of people inside of ngrok who are extremely bullish on this and building these kinds of natural language interfaces that say, like, I want to build X, Y, and Z with ngrok. Go do it for me and like give me the setup. What is your take on that from like a product design like angle, and like how do you think about integrating something like that with traditional onboarding that says like go do X, Y, and Z, versus like AI just builds it for you?
Can you clarify the context? Like, you mean like, say you're using Cursor and you're like building this app, and oh, by the way, I need to share this externally? Or do you mean like something specifically within ngrok itself?
I guess it could be either. I was thinking about the latter, like a ngrok specific experience that says like build me this gateway configuration, or like help me expose this service running on this port, spit out the configuration that I need. That's kind of what I was thinking about.
That's a good, okay, that makes sense. So I think in concept, especially when we're dealing with so many different potential settings and configurations that are not just like easily done with checkboxes or radio buttons, that makes sense. I think the challenge is we need to do it in a way that doesn't lose trust. Like, if we do something and it returns a bunch of errors, or even worse, it potentially exposes something or causes a security risk, like that's got to make a very lasting impression. So I guess my answer would be, if we can do it in a way that is transparent and trustworthy, then I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
My results with other things of that nature in AI has been mixed. So like, this is an example where I'd say we want to like make sure before we release something that it is trustworthy.
Yeah. And to me, to me, that one of the big answers there, and I think one of the big questions that AI folks or like people who are trying this stuff out are skeptical is like being able to answer, I don't know how to do that, or like I can't set that up for you based on what's currently available in the product, right? Like AIs are exceptional at being like, oh no, I can do that for you. And then they spit out a bunch of hallucinated stuff that doesn't really work, right? Um, like as you're saying, from an end user onboarding experience, that's about as bad as it gets. So it's definitely a risk.
Yeah, I'm laughing because that has literally happened to me where it's like, no, really, for the 30,000th time, this does not work and it's not doing the thing you said it is doing. There is an error.
Yeah. There's another, I like, there's this other piece of AI that like, I think theoretically, yes, like there could be something that a tool that you're using locally that is like that is executing the agent on your behalf. I'm there's maybe somebody experimenting out there with that, like with that kind of stuff right now. It's not something that I think we're thinking about very much, but like taking that step beyond an AI just saying like run ngrok http whatever, it's actually doing it on your behalf. Certainly like I could see that happening in the future. Whether that's within our experience or outside, that's another matter entirely. Okay, so Josh, any last questions? Otherwise, I wanted to hop over to a couple community updates from Ishika. But again, like wanted to give you the forum to, try to get the sort of collective thoughts from people. So where's your mind at as we kind of try to close things up here?
So I think Caitlin, her latest comment, I think is an interesting one because the theme there is basically like starting at one place and moving it to another place. And I can see that being very common in like building AI apps. Like at first you just want to share what's on your local machine to other people, but then maybe you need to integrate it into more of like your work enterprise setting or just change that scenario. How can we make make the process of changing your settings within ngrok or changing your scenario that you're working on, make that much more seamless?
Yeah, and it's like in theory, the the process is kind of like this. So that the first time you executed ngrok, you just ran ngrok http 5678, which is where n8n runs by default. But then you like specify the URL. In some cases, yeah, like you are okay with closing down ngrok for a moment and restarting it. But in some cases, like if you're running production apps, like you're not willing to bring them down for any reason whatsoever. So like definitely create some potential issues there. And like there's ways around most of those, but kind of require you knowing the gotchas before you even started, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And a lot of this process is like, I don't know what I need to know until I need to know it.
And part of our problem is trying to provide good defaults for you without negatively affecting your experience. That's like there's a version where we could say like every endpoint is pooled in that you can like they are load balanced and you can add multiple URLs to the same multiple endpoints to the same URL. It makes things like moving domains really easy and seamless and downtime free, but there's gotchas involved in just turning that on for everybody. Like there's situations where you really don't want to be load balancing on accident.
Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, I think Aishka has put the link to this in the chat again. Let me find it. Or maybe Aishka, you can. We've got the tally form if folks want to contribute, let us know other things that you're thinking about, other pain points you're experiencing. It would be awesome. I know Josh is particularly interested in anyone who's willing to hop on a call and go through some of this. Again, like with thanks and swag and all sorts of goodies in your future if you are willing to do that. And probably access to like early access things when you get when you get to that point. I think the discussion's been great. It went in ways I didn't expect, but I think that's exactly what we're looking for, is like the unexpected response to a question of like, how do we fix onboarding? It's like, well, really depends on what people are using it for.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I would love to continue talking to any of you that have opinions on things, because we're always working on new features and trying to improve what we have already. So yeah, please, if you're interested, love to continue the conversation.
Awesome. Aishika, do you want to hop back on? I know you're probably like, oh, I like being hidden in the background. But let folks know some of the community centric things that are going on. You've got stuff happening in San Francisco and elsewhere. What's going on?
So right now, I guess we are taking our efforts global. And let me just drop this link real quick in the chat. So this is the Luma calendar that I've been maintaining. So any meetups or events that we organize that pop up, on our end in your region, you'll be able to see them here on this calendar. So if you aren't subscribed yet, I would recommend doing so right now. And we recently hosted our first meetup at the HQ in San Francisco, which was really well attended, and it was the first time that we, hosted an event here. So really great response and a lot of amazing conversations, and we'd like to keep that going. So we are planning on hosting events in San Francisco monthly. So if you're around, make sure that again you're subscribed to this calendar, and that way I guess I'd be able to reach out to you with notifications about upcoming events. If you're based out of India, I have some amazing news for you. I'm going to be there in India for KubeCon. So we are going to have a lovely opportunity to interact with folks, to hand out the most amazing ngrok merch that is currently in the works. We had lengthy discussions about funds that we can put up on t-shirts, and these are going to be t-shirts that you'd really want to flaunt in every single meetup or conference you attend. And one of them features my cat, who you saw on the last office hour session, I guess, was decided to show up once again. But yeah, really interesting things popping up, and this is on the events front. Apart from that, the community license initiative is still up and running. So if you're maintaining an open source repository, make sure you apply and help us help you make a positive impact on open source. Apart from that, you're going to also see us at KubeCon North America. And if you plan on attending, make sure you come up with the most interesting ngrok use cases you have, and we might just hand you a Nintendo Switch. I did not just say that.
Hey, you're the one who always, tells me not to reveal the plans on live stream.
It was very planned. It was very planned. I want you folks to know that. So even in India, I mean, I would have loved to give stuff away, but this is just going to be an experiment of sorts. And we are organizing a lot of side events. Of course, information is going to pop up on the same Bluma calendar. If you're subscribed to our newsletters, you're going to read it there as well. So I'm really excited about the stuff that we are going to run in India. So we have one meetup coming up in Delhi. We have a couple of secret events coming up in Hyderabad. So if you're attending KubeCon India, it's going to be a fun week in August. I can definitely assure you of that. So come find me. I'm going to have the most exclusive ngrok swag that even ngrokers don't have yet. So yeah, that would be it on the events front. Here's the cat once again. So apart from that, if you have any other recommendations or suggestions for stuff that we should run in our community, my DMs are always open. I'm pretty active on Twitter and on Discord. So those are the platforms. Thank you so much, Tim, for subscribing to Luma. love seeing that, love seeing you folks, being interested in our events. And I look forward to actually hosting a lot of events globally to, be able to interact with you folks in person. Because I still feel like, virtually hosting things doesn't cut it, and building that personal connection goes a really long way. And we might also end up hosting our first hackathon that I'm really excited about. So if you have any ideas, any suggestions, of course, I'm going to bribe you with swag. So for some extra swag, I'm talking about the exclusive swag here, not the one that you might have probably seen
Mhm.
people, prepping. But if you have any ideas for hackathons, any other community events, any community centric stuff, I would love to hear it. And I'm always all ears for ideas. So somebody wrote Sia in KubeCon. Please
All
do.
right.
I have a lot of pins, stickers, and t-shirts to give away.
Be very exciting, and lots of things that we're planning for Atlanta as well for KubeCon
Oh
NA. So one great place to get in touch with both Aishika and myself and other ngrokers is the Discord server. Just drop the link to that as well. Feel free to join, comment, give us feedback, whatever you've got, like whatever you're thinking about. All of those community events as well. Would all of the thoughts are always welcome. One more, like maybe not so much community centric thing that I wanted to take a moment to talk about, because it has actually relation to onboarding, and that like, okay, I've started to use ngrok. What's next is our burgeoning gallery of examples that walk you through like, I want to solve, like they're based around solving a problem. So it's like, I want to do X. I need to do Y. And how can I use ngrok to do that? And there's a bunch for folks that like, we had a lot of N8N people here. Like there's Olama as well, came up a couple times. Like there are very tactical step-by-step guides to walk you through like how to set it up, and then how to use traffic policy in a really tactical, helpful way that usually adds layer of security to what you're doing. Make sure that like anyone can't access your services that you are hosting either locally or in production. And as Aishika just put in the chat, like we are looking for your examples as well. Like what is the shape of your usage of ngrok? If you share that with us, again, there's more swag with your name on it. Very cool. And then let's say last but not least, we have a bunch of, oh, where's my link for it? We have a bunch of really cool traffic policy features in developer preview. There are like developer preview lets you, as I mentioned earlier, I think in this very session, you can request access to this preview. Once it's live and product is ready to like collect feedback and support is ready to support people who are trying to use it, we send you an email that says it's active on your account. You get 90 days to try it out, and hopefully you are like totally convinced and bought in and want to keep using it. We just released 2 of these into like, we're turning them on for everyone who has requested already, which is first being HTTP request. And I'll drop these links in the chat. We've just got so many links going out. Like there's so much content out there and things to do. So I just dropped both of those in the chat as well. You can read about them. You can then go hop over to the developer preview page, click that little button, and we'll get that, get your account kind of started up in the back end to give you access to that and let you play around. And again, that's a great way to give feedback and really actively contribute to where ngrok is headed in the future. And both of these are big enablers for like AI usage and a lot of stuff we're building later this year, which I can't talk about yet, but hopefully soon. Very cool. Okay, Aishika, anything else from your fronts? there's a lot. So I think I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I just want to talk about how we were going to run a workshop and then we decided to actually end up talking to you folks instead. And I'm actually very happy that we did that because this is the most active I've ever seen the chat being. So we are definitely going to continue having more of these conversations. And I know an hour is not enough to have conversations like these. So definitely hop into our Discord server. Again, the link is ngrok.com/discord. You can find me, Joel, and a lot of other ngrokers. We also host a lot of informal sessions, co-working sessions, and chats on the server. So yeah, come say hi. If you ever run into any issues, I also built a very random AI integration that helps you out with any ngrok queries you may have. Still in beta, but it works. So
This is true.
yeah, take a look at it and yeah, just come say hi. So that's all I'm going to say. If you're around, do attend ngrok events, and we'll hopefully land in a city near you really soon if we aren't there already.
Love that. That seems like a great way, a great place to wrap things up. So yeah, we'll sign off for this month. This is session number 11, so we'll be back for session number 12, which will be a full year of office hours, which again is wild. In the middle, like mid to end of August is when it's scheduled out. If you'll be watching this on YouTube, so you can hop over to our I think it's like a live tab on our YouTube page, on our YouTube channel. You can once again hit the bell to get notified when the session goes live. And of course, we'll be talking about it a lot in the next couple of weeks and promoting it as we usually do. But yeah, super appreciate the conversation, everyone participating. Josh had to run, but Josh, gave me a big thumbs up and said that it was super helpful for him to just hear directly from folks about their experiences. And yeah, as I said, thank you all for participating, for sharing what your onboarding experience was like, and hopefully we can do it again next month. So with that, we'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.